Manta, manta, sve mi se manta kad vidite. Manta, 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 da li i tebi manta se?
We are here in Fishhoek today to discuss some options related to various projects that you are intending to do. Could you briefly tell me what you'd like to do with Mrs. Raznatovich?
Is now in house arrest after reaching a plea bargain and meeting some kind of embezzlement or maybe some possession of illegal arms. Well, in any case, it would be good to clubs related to sexual exhibition industry to invite her and ask the authorities to ease the house arrest, because I understand that she is allowed to appear in concerts, so to invite her to sing, because her singing, her concerts also have a sex exhibition element.
Okay. What is the full name of this lady that we are speaking about?
Svetlana Tsetsa, as she is known, Tsetsa Raznatovich. I don't know her previous name, I mean, before she married Željko Raznatovich, known as Arkan. I mean, he was Arkan and she was Tsetsa. That is how they are known. But
okay, so she's from where?
She's from Serbia, of course. Yes.
Who is Arkan?
Arkan was a founder and commander of what was called the Serbian Armed Guard or something like that. That was better known as the Tigers, and I think he also raised tigers, which is something unique. I mean, raising lions is also unique, but you know, the nature of tigers is also difficult to raise. Yes, so as I understand, as I mentioned, I think if the authorities in Serbia, today's authorities, would realize that people are interested in Mrs. Razniatovich's performance and what happens to her, so they are likely to ease the conditions of house arrest.
Okay, so who is the current government of Serbia?
That is unfortunate, but it is the so-called Democratic Party.
Now, what happened to Arkan?
Arkan was assassinated probably by some kind of an underground organization for some disagreement.
Who are the Dacians?
The Dacians are the original Romanians. Dacia was a country, and after before it was conquered by the Roman Empire, up to the beginning of the 2nd century, and afterwards, after a while, the people of Dacia, the former Dacia, were regarded as Romanians or Valachians. But yes, and then there was Valachia in Romania. In Romanian it was called Țare Românește, the land of the Romanians, and then Moldavia and Transylvania, but it's all Romanian population. They speak Romanian, which is a mixture of Slavic words, Dacian words, but especially I would say Roman.
In other words, Latin or Italian?
Yes.
It comes from
more Latin than Italian.
Latin,
yes.
Which later evolved into Italian in Italy and other Romanesque languages.
Yes.
So, okay, to the next part. You are making a film, or you're making a number of films, and you are looking for actors and actresses in these films. Is that correct?
Yes.
What is your first requirement?
Well, that depends to what movie. I'm making a movie called Dracula's Rebirth to the Sleeping Beauty. I mean, it begins with the true story of Dracula, Prince Vlad III of Wallachia. Then it goes to the Sultan of Morocco in the late 17th century and the early 18th century, Ismail the Bloodthirsty, who was also part of the history of slave trading in Morocco. Briefly, the history of people who lived under the Ottoman Empire, and then it comes to the fictional part of the reborn Dracula, to the Sleeping Beauty.
Okay, so why are you making a movie about this?
So it is a mixture of history and fiction. So there are a few reasons for that. One reason may be for parents to educate and guide their children so they will not be gangsters. Then it goes back to the history of Željko Raznjatović, known as Arkan, because his parents were strict and communists, and they actually physically abused their children, physically abused him, so he ran to other places and actually became a gangster. Then afterwards he somehow repented and became a politician. The main purpose of the movie is for parents to educate their children and guide their children so they can prevent them from becoming gangsters.
Okay.
Because this is a problem lately. Yes, then there is the movie, a kind of Good, the Bad and the Ugly, or maybe something like The Good, the Bad and Mrs. Honey, or something like that. I mean, the good is Mrs. Raznjatović, the bad is Mrs. Djindjic, and the ugly is Mrs. Honey. How did I came to that kind of an idea? Because really Mrs. Raznjatović lived with her husband. She got married 5 years before he got assassinated. So, in a sense, she is the most unfortunate one of the three regarding to their husbands' assassinations. And nevertheless, she looks to me, and sounds to me, I mean, I would regard her as the coolest of all.
Okay, so, who's Mrs. Djindjic?
The wife of the one who called himself Serbia's prime minister, who was actually Serbia's dictator, Djindjic.
Okay, and Mrs. Hani? Who's that?
In South Africa, the widow of...
that filthy you mean the filthy terrorist, don't you?
Yes, I actually mean that, yes.
Okay.
I would say that, yes, that's a good description, yes.
Okay, so now some of these ladies that we wish to entice or employ or consider as people that should be auditioned for their role in this film.
Yes.
Are you going to pay them, and how much will you pay them?
When the movie is completed, then I would obviously pay the people who performed. How much? Well, people can negotiate, but I can assure you that when there is a movie and when I earn something from it, I will at least offer those people who performed in it some money. I mean, they may accept, they may decide not to accept, but I would definitely offer something.
Okay, are you making this movie with the motive of business-minded profit, orientation?
Well, I have this in mind too, but I think my main motive is, that idea of Mrs. Razniatovich is the coolest of those three, and in a way, the most unfortunate.
So are you saying that the motivation for this movie is to tell people that Mrs. Raznatovich is cool and she's unfortunate? In other words, what you in a
I mean, cool, maybe we'll say cool despite being unfortunate, yes.
okay, so in another way, are you saying that the opposite extreme is the bad is the luckiest?
The bad and the ugly, and in some way the luckiest, yes. I mean, when I say the ugly, I mean, it's like, I say the bad, actually. I mean, not physically, but I can't say about Mrs. I mean, it would sound strange if you look at the pictures of Mrs. Gingic to call her the ugly. You see, so that is why I chose it that way.
Okay, so what will you do with this movie when it is complete? Where are you going to go with it?
To relevant producers or to relevant businessmen or maybe politicians to find a way to show it to the world, or to show it to the relevant parts of the world. I mean, maybe in Serbia, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Maybe in Romania, Dracula's rebirth to the Sleeping Beauty, or in and in South Africa, both we can show, and in other parts of the world.
Are you making this movie or these movies in English?
Yes, it is easier for me to make it in English, yes.
So will you translate them into Romanian and Serbian?
Yes.
Or get somebody to do that?
Yes, I think so, yes.
Okay.
That would be the best thing to do, actually, yes.
Okay. Good. Thank you then. There's nothing else I can think about that we should discuss now.
All right, so have a nice day.
Right, thank you, and you too.
All right.